Are you struggling with job interviews? Are you doing lots of job interviews and getting no job offers? In this video, I'm going to share with you a 3-step technique that will help you become more confident in job interviews and get you more job offers. I've taught this technique to hundreds of my students, and they've all got great results after they learned the 3 secret techniques. So let's get started. If you're ready to put some effort into this and improve your interview skills quickly, let's get started. Here are the 3 proven steps that will help you crush your next job interview, no matter what your English level is. The first step is nailing the answer to that classic opener, "Tell me about yourself." When I taught this to my students, they became more confident almost immediately. This is your big chance to make a killer first impression, so you need to make sure your story is dialed in super tight. You never get a second chance to make a good first impression. The key is to keep it concise and relevant. Don't just ramble on about your whole life. That's a surefire way to lose the interviewer's attention. Instead, you want to hit them with a tight 2 to 3 sentence overview that highlights your most impressive credentials. Start by giving a brief overview of your background and experience. This should be about 3 or 4 sentences, and you can generally use the same 3 or 4 sentences in every interview. However, in the second part, you need to highlight 1 or 2 of your top skills or accomplishments, and be sure to focus this on the job you were applying for. Explain what you bring to the table for this particular job or for this particular company. For example, you could say something like, "I'm a marketing pro with 5 years under my belt, and I'm really passionate about digital marketing campaigns. I've got a proven track record of driving killer results through social media, and I'm super excited about this marketing coordinator role because I think my content creation and analytic skills will be a perfect fit for your team." See how that gives the interviewer a clear picture of who you are and why you're the right person for the job? Practice this speech out loud until you've got it down cold, solid. You can say it in your sleep. You can say it in your dreams. Cold. That way you can deliver it with complete confidence when the time comes. Now I know what you're thinking. How the heck am I supposed to remember all that in the moment? Well, you spend a lot of time memorizing lists of vocabulary, memorizing grammar rules, which you never use. Well, the trick is to memorize your "tell me about yourself" answer well ahead of time. Here's something you really need to memorize. When you have that introduction locked down, you can walk into any interview feeling cool, calm, and collected. No need to stress about coming up with the right words on the spot. Don't be like the guy who thinks, "Gee, I have to give another answer," and think about it there. Why? Nothing's changed. You were born in the same year. You went to the same school. You have the same interests. So memorize that. Then you have it in your brain forever. You always need to get your best foot forward, ready to knock their socks off. And the benefits don't stop there. By memorizing "tell me about yourself" as an answer also sets you up for success for the rest of the interview. It gets the conversation flowing smoothly from the very start and shows the interviewer that you're prepared, focused, and eager to make a great first impression. The interviewer on the little piece of paper is going to mark "fluent" in their notes based on these first 2 or 3 minutes. And you will feel more confident now because your opening went so well. Step number 2 is learning the STAR method. STAR. When I taught this to my students, they stopped memorizing answers to difficult questions. You know, those books that you can buy, 64 questions that you will be asked at an interview, 95 questions you're going to be asked at an interview. You don't need those if you know the STAR method. This step is very powerful because it teaches you how interviewers think and gives you a framework that ticks all the boxes. All the things that they're looking for, if you use the STAR method, will make you into an interview genius. Now, the STAR method isn't just some trick I pulled out of my hat. I didn't make it up. It's actually the standard approach that all HR professionals and interviewers use to evaluate job candidates. So if you know what they're looking for, you can give them the absolute correct answer. They love it because it gets you to provide detailed, well-organized answers that showcase your skills and experience. The STAR method is based on the idea that past performance is an indication of future performance.
Your past experience is an indication of your future performance.
So, if you know what they're looking for, you have a better chance of getting the job. STAR, S-T-A-R, stands for situation, task, action, and result. And it's a structured way of answering questions that'll make your responses crystal clear. First, you describe the specific situation or problem you were facing. Then, you explain what you needed to accomplish or the goal you were working towards. Next, you detail the steps you took to address the situation or task. And finally, you share the positive outcome or result of your actions. Let's say the interviewer asks you, tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult coworker. Using the STAR method, your answer might sound something like this. Situation. Last year I was working on a big marketing campaign with a teammate who was super stubborn and wouldn't budge an inch. He insisted on doing things his way, even though my ideas were way better aligned with the client's needs. T for task. My goal was to find a way to work productively with this coworker so we could deliver a super top-notch campaign on time. Action. First, I tried having an open and honest conversation with him. I listened to his perspective and acknowledged the valid points he was making. Then, I suggested we each pitch our top 3 ideas and let the client decide which ones to go with. That allowed us to present both our viewpoints without getting into a big argument. Result. In the end, the client loved the campaign we put together, and it was one of our most successful projects that year. My coworker and I even ended up developing a better working relationship after going through that process together. See how that gives a clear, structured answer? It's not really long, it's just 4 sentences, but it tells a story. STAR. It shows the interviewer that you know how to think critically, problem solve, and collaborate effectively, all crucial skills for any job. The STAR method is a go-to technique that HR professionals use to get the information they need to evaluate candidates. So, if you take the time to practice the STAR method, you'll be speaking the language that they're listening for, and you make their job a whole lot easier. Practice using the STAR method to answer a variety of common interview questions, and the more you do that, the more natural it'll feel when you're in the interviewing seat.
Before we get to part 3 of how to crush your next interview, if you would like to improve your English conversation skills, get a copy of my free report, The 5 Biggest Mistakes in English Conversation.
Finally, the last key to crushing your interview is having 3 relevant stories from your work experience ready to go. Now, these stories are your chance to provide specific, compelling examples that showcase your skills and abilities. Now, you don't want to just pull these stories out of the air when you're at the interview. No, you want to carefully choose a bank of 3 to 5 stories or anecdotes that highlight the key skills and competencies that the employer is looking for. And by using stories, you can frame them to answer different questions. That way you can pick and choose the ones that are the most suitable for that particular interview and any particular question they may have. When choosing your stories, think about the job description and the qualities that they value most. And over time, you can write these stories down so that you have a bank of stories that you can use for any interview. So, what kind of problems have you solved in the past? What achievements are you most proud of? How have you demonstrated leadership, teamwork, or other important qualities? For example, let's say the job listing emphasizes strong communication and problem-solving skills. You could have stories about a time you had to explain a complex technical issue to a non-technical client in a clear, easy-to-understand way. Or an instance where you had to diffuse a tense situation with an angry customer and find a solution that left them satisfied. Or a project where you needed to collaborate closely with cross-functional team members to create an important task on a tight deadline. Notice how each of these stories directly aligns with the skills the employer is looking for. When you share specific, relevant examples like these, it shows the interviewer that you've got the right experience for the job. And like I said before, past experience is an indication of future performance. That's why this is so important. Remember, as you're developing your stories, make sure you use the STAR method to structure your responses. This will ensure that you provide a clear, comprehensive answer that highlights your abilities. Practice telling your 3 stories out loud until you feel completely comfortable with them. You want to be able to deliver them smoothly and naturally without sounding like you're reciting out of a script. Building up a bank of stories takes time and effort, but it's well worth it. It's a lot easier than trying to memorize 100 best answers. And because they're personal, they're related to you, this is what the interviewer wants to hear. They want to hear your experience. They don't want to hear some hypothetical issue, something that you read out of a textbook. They're not looking for a textbook answer. They're looking for experience that you had and that you can use in your job. So the more prepared you are, the more confident and polished you'll come across in the interview. And that's the key to really knocking it out of the park. So there you have it, the 3 key steps to crushing your next job interview, even if English isn't your first language. Remember, nail the tell me about yourself opener with concise, compelling pitch. Learn the STAR method to structure your responses and showcase your skills. And have 3 relevant stories from your work experience ready to share using the STAR method and format. With the right preparation, you can walk into that interview room feeling completely confident and ready to impress. Good luck on your next interview. It's Herbert Lee saying bye for now, and get ready for your next interview where you're going to knock their socks off and get a job offer.